Hey there riders, Moto Journo Kris here, and I wanted to talk about the updated 2021 KLR650 or 2022 model as they are calling it in America. This model is headed to Australia and the US, but it looks like Europe and the UK misses out due to the ever tightening restrictions there. Pricing in the US for the standard 2022 KLR650 starts at $6,700 plus destination and dealer charges. For the ABS version you add a further $300, but again you need to add all those additional costs to get it on the road. In Australia, the outgoing model on the road was under 10k, in fact about 9.5. And while we're still waiting to hear the updated pricing, I'm hoping that they will bring it in under 10k. Now you'd be forgiving for thinking the KLR650 predates the internet, as it was launched way back in 1987 and only received an update in 2008, which it carried through to today with the latest update. I had the opportunity to have a short spin on the KLR650 back in 2016, and while it wasn't a motorcycle to set the world on fire, it was pretty damn good for the price tag. Sure, it's a basic motorcycle and until now didn't even offer fuel injection, but it was designed to be rugged, simple, and an efficient tool for its intended use. No nonsense riding and adventuring, and it was fun and a very competent machine. I don't think you could ask for more than what was on offer without that price ballooning pretty unreasonably. Fast forward to 2021 and there's no doubt some people are disappointed that Kawasaki haven't released something to compete with the Tenere 700 or KTM 790 or 890 Adventure, but honestly I think people may have been kidding themselves if they thought an updated KLR 650 was ever going to do that. This is a much more relaxed and value-driven machine, and without basically doubling performance would never compete in that category, let alone in the other upgrades that would be necessary to be competitive, against those models at least. So Kawasaki followed the KISS approach. We're seeing a number of small updates, but clearly the intended audience for this motorcycle is unchanged. I guess you could say they've brought it into 2015 technologically, and you know what? When I think back to riding that bike in 2016, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You also can't accuse Kawasaki of not keeping up with the trends. They've actually increased the capacity of the new KLR 650 from a 651cc to a 652cc, so the capacity creep is well and truly alive. The big point of note here is moving to EFI, although that brings performance down to 28.5 kilowatts according to Kawasaki, from 31 on the older model, so you're losing a couple of horsepower. Good news is that torque jumped up to 51.5 Newton meters, or about a 10% gain at peak torque, with both of those figures actually now peaking lower in the rev range. Kawasaki do also mention optimized cam profiles and exhaust system for the best feeling of power for everyday use according to them, with the clutch also updated for better reliability. To better handle accessories in the modern world, the power system's output is also beefed up to 26 amps from 17 with a new LED headlight using less power, and there's 80 watts of power available altogether. Interestingly, a lighter battery has been fitted, saving 1.7 kilos. However, the 2021 KLR 650 is shown as weighing 210 kilos, where the old bike was only 194, and both of those are official Kawasaki figures. Unchanged is the 5-speed gearbox, which may be slightly disappointing for some, while fuel capacity is slightly bumped, depending who you talk to. Here in Australia, the outgoing model held 22 litres, while the updated version holds 23. However, I've seen it listed elsewhere as a 23 litre tank. A point of interest to me, at least, is that the new bike is Euro 4 compliant, which makes me wonder if the KLR 650 update wasn't done a number of years ago but left on the shelf pending ongoing demand, or to see whether the Versys X300 fared well in the market. In comparison, the Versys X lacks the longer travel suspension, but seems a possible machine intended to have superseded the KLR 650. But back to that new KLR 650, there's been some decent chassis updates too. The rear frame, for instance, is now integrated into the main frame, offering a little bit more carrying capacity, with the swing arm extended by 30 mils and the bike's wheelbase actually lengthened as a whole by 60 mils in total to 1540. The same 41mm forks and Unitrack suspension is still fitted too, although Kawasaki promised revised settings and a more planted feel, with rebound and preload adjustability on the rear alongside 185mm of travel. In comparison, there's 200mm of travel on the front, both of which are fairly generous. ABS is also standard fitment in Australia or available in the US as an option, with a larger brake rotor fitted on the front going up to a 300mm rotor, while the rear rotor is a mil thicker but still a 240. The dual piston calipers on both remain. Wheels are unchanged except for a stronger rim according to Kawasaki, as well as larger diameter axle shafts on both ends. There's also plenty of changes when it comes to ergonomics. Both handlebars and foot pegs are apparently 10mm wider out from the bike, for a wider stance overall, with rubber mounting to help lessen vibrations. The tank is also designed to allow riders' knees to fit more naturally. The windshield offers more wind protection, being 50mm higher, and a second position, which I think you do need to undo some bolts to get to, adds a further 30mm, so that's a generous increase in the amount of wind protection you're going to get on this machine. Now behind that screen there's actually a new LCD display, which is quite a small and simple display but is going to offer everything a lot more visible than the old triple clock setup. The seat is also meant to be more supple and optimised for comfort, while pillion grab rails are reshaped and the side stand shortened, which should make getting the bike onto the stand a little bit easier. Finally, there's a pretty decent range of Kawasaki accessories such as a DC or USB socket, heated grips, LED fog lights, a low seat option and frame sliders. The seat height remains unchanged at 870mm, with the bike weighing in at 210kg, which as I said adds 16kg despite some weight saving measures. And if you go for the Adventure Edition, which runs the locking panniers, fog lamps, frame sliders and both of the sockets as standard fitment, that actually bumps it up to 222kg. So overall, there's a lot of subtle changes, with the only change which really raises an eyebrow for me being the fact that weight has increased. Not world ending by any means, and I'd say for the price, not a major factor, especially with the Versys X offering a much lighter option at 175 kilos for people who might find this unmanageable. However, it's still going to be a point that will stick for some potential buyers. My overall thoughts, Kawasaki have doubled down on what made the KLR650 successful in the first place, and while the bike still doesn't wow in the specs department, it's hard to imagine it'll have lost that fun factor of the old model, while adding a heap of quality of life changes which are very much welcome. Close competitors, I'd probably say the Suzuki DR650 and the Royal Enfield Himalayan if I'm honest, all of which are back to basics riding experiences at a relatively affordable buy-in. I guess the question that remains is whether there's enough riders who like that type of bike left to give the KLR another few years of life. I guess only time will tell. If you've enjoyed the video or have your own thoughts about the updates, let me know in the comments below, and as always, thanks for watching and stay safe out there.